In this lesson, we will explore password attacks. Password attacks are methods used by attackers to crack or recover a password. There are several types of password attacks, including brute force attacks, dictionary attacks, spraying attacks, and hybrid attacks. First, we have brute force attacks. A brute force attack involves trying every possible combination of characters until the correct password is found. For example, an attacker might start with A, then B, then C, all the way through Z, and then AA, AB, AC, and so on and so forth. This type of attack is very thorough, but can be very time-consuming and computationally expensive, especially for long and complex passwords. On the other hand, if someone is simply using a 4-digit PIN, it will only take you about a minute or two to conduct a brute force attack against it, since there's only about 10,000 possible combinations going from 0000 to 9999. And most password cracking software can crack between 500 to 1,000 keys per second on most modern laptops, making a 4-digit PIN extremely insecure against any offline brute force attack. Brute force attacks can be mitigated through increasing password complexity, increasing password length, limiting the number of login attempts, and using multi-factor authentication and using CAPTCHAs to prevent online password cracking attempts. Second, we have a dictionary attack. A dictionary attack involves using a list or dictionary of commonly used passwords and trying them on. When it was first introduced decades ago, dictionary attacks actually used real dictionary words to attempt to crack the password. But in more recent years, these tools rely on a hacker's dictionary instead. For example, in a regular dictionary, you might find the word written as password all lowercases, or password all uppercases, or password with a capital P. But in modern hacker dictionaries, the word password may appear as those three options or as one with letters being changed out for numbers and symbols like P, @ $, lowercase w, 0, RD, or something similar. When you see the word written with these kind of symbolic and numerical substitutions, we call this elite speak, which is a slang way of talking about the way former elite hackers used to write out their usernames by adding these special characters and numbers inside of an otherwise normal-looking dictionary word. Dictionary attacks can be very effective against users who use common, easy-to-guess passwords, but less effective against complex, unique passwords unless they do actually exist within the hacker dictionary, like most forms of the words password, administrator, admin, and the word root. Dictionary attacks can be mitigated by using the same techniques as brute force attacks, such as increasing password complexity, increasing password length, limiting the number of login attempts, and using multi-factor authentication, as well as CAPTCHAs to prevent online password cracking attempts. Third, we have the password spraying. Password spraying is a form of brute force attacks that involves trying a small number of commonly used passwords against a large number of users or accounts. For example, an attacker might try password 1 against every account in a company's email system to see if anyone is using this weak password to try and protect their email account's login. A password spraying attack can be effective because it avoids account lockups that can occur after a certain number of failed login attempts against a single account. Password spraying relies on the fact that in a large group of users, there's a good chance that at least a few of them are going to use very commonly known and weak passwords. Password spraying attacks can be mitigated by using unique passwords and, of course, implementing multi-factor authentication techniques. Finally, we have a hybrid attack. And a hybrid attack simply combines elements of a brute force and dictionary attack by starting out a dictionary of commonly used passwords, but also including variations like adding numbers or special characters to the ends of the passwords. This variation can be included in the dictionary itself, which would make it a dictionary attack, or they can be created dynamically by your password cracking software in a true hybrid attack. For example, an attacker might have discovered during reconnaissance that the company requires that everyone uses a password that contains a 8-character dictionary word and then append a 6-digit random number to the end of it. So if my dictionary word was fabulous and my randomly assigned number was 617238, then my new password would be set as fabulous 61238. So if you know that everyone's passwords follows this format, you can use a dictionary-based attack to find the first word like fabulous and then use a brute force attack to try every combination from fabulous 0000001 to fabulous 999999 until the correct password is found as fabulous 617238. In this short demonstration, I will walk you through how to use the John the Ripper password cracking tool. John the Ripper, commonly just referred to as John, is a popular password cracking tool that has gained a reputation for its speed and versatility. It's primarily used to identify weak Unix passwords, though it supports hashes of many other platforms as well. Now, let's walk through a quick demonstration of how to use John. Before starting, let's ensure John is installed on your system. On Linux, you can often use it with the sudo apt-get install John. Now, I'm using Kali Linux, so it's already pre-installed, but I'm just going to run through the command really quick for those of you who doesn't have Kali Linux. All right. Password in for sudo elevated privileges. Okay, we see John is already installed and I have the latest version now. Again, if you didn't have it, it would have installed it for you there. Next, let's create a simple file with an MD5 hash for John the Ripper to crack. Remember, using MD5 for hashing is not recommended for any actual security purposes due to its vulnerabilities. This demonstration is for educational purposes only. Now, if you're going to store passwords, always use a strong cryptographic hashing algorithm like SHA-256 combined with assault. Now, assaulting and hashes involve adding a random string of characters, also known as assault, to protect the password before hashing it. Now, this enhances the security by preventing any dictionary attacks or hashing table lookups like we're about to perform here. Now, let's create this file. I'm going to use the echo command. So I'm going to use the echo-n. I'm going to put in the word password, and I'm going to make sure I get the MD5 sum of it. So I'm going to use a pipe command. And then one thing to note about when you use the MD5 sum command, it's going to add this hyphen at the end. So I'm going to use the alt command to remove that particular character and then add it to the mypassword.txt file. I have this command already pre-formatted, so I'm just going to click enter. Now let's look and see this particular file. Okay, we see we have our MD5 hash. Next, we're going to run a command to get John cracking. We're going to use the John --format equals raw -MD5. And then we're going to specify the particular file that we're going to use. And I'm going to use mypassword.txt, or you can use whatever name you have. Here's that command for you. Now I'm going to go ahead and click enter. And we see that was very quick. And if you see highlighted in the orange, the password, that's the actual password, showing that it was easily cracked. And if you note right before it said it proceeded with the word list, meaning that password was already in a list of all the different hashes, more so specifically the MD5 hash lookup table. So all I did was just find the hash for password and just print it out for me. And again, that's why it's critical to make sure that you're using strong passwords and nothing that's easily and commonly used, because something like John the Ripper could easily find it in a second. Something to note, if you run the command and miss the output for some reason, the hash will not be attempted to be cracked again and will instead be stored in the .john/john.pot file, which is usually under user's home directory. So really quick, let me show you that. So we see that MD5 hash is stored in here. So again, it won't crack it again. You see how it now states that there's no password hashes left to be cracked? That's because it's already cracked and it's in that particular file. So if you have this issue, that's where you need to look. And if you want to run it again, you can just simply clear that file or just delete the file entirely, and then it'll create another one after you run that new John the Ripper command. So remember, brute force attacks are used to try all of the possible combinations for a password in order to crack it, but they can be very time consuming and expensive to conduct from a computational perspective. A dictionary attack will use a list of commonly used passwords from a text file known as a dictionary to attempt to guess the password. A password spraying attack attempts to try the same few passwords against a lot of different accounts to try and prevent locking out of any individual user account during the online password cracking attempt. And a hybrid attack is used to combine the benefits of a dictionary and brute force attack to find longer, stronger, and more complex passwords in less time than a brute force attack could do on its own. To protect against these attacks, your organization should require the use of a unique, long, and complex passwords, such as using password managers to help manage your users' passwords on the network. Also, to really prevent password attacks from being successful, you should enable multi-factor authentication whenever possible. since it adds an additional layer of security by requiring a second factor of authentication to be used in addition to just a password.